Irina loved the sky, the way it stretched endlessly, holding the promise of distant lands and cultures. It was this love that led her to become a flight attendant for Azerbaijan Airlines. She embraced the nomadic lifestyle, the fleeting connections, the comforting routine of service at 30,000 feet. Each takeoff was a mini adventure, each landing a sigh of relief. Little did she know, fate held a turbulent flight path in store for her. Irina was known for her warm smile and professional demeanor. She treated every passenger with respect, regardless of their social standing. To her, they were not just seat numbers, but individuals embarking on journeys of their own. This inherent kindness, however, would soon become a source of immense regret. A single encounter would change everything, an encounter that would be seared into her memory, a haunting reminder of the day the sky fell. Irina adjusted her crisp blue uniform, the embroidered falcon emblem a symbol of pride and national identity. She had always been drawn to the grace of flight, the way a metal bird could soar above the clouds, defying gravity and borders. But today, as she prepared for the Baku-Grozny leg, a knot of unease tightened in her stomach. The geopolitical climate was tense, whispers of conflict casting long shadows over her usually sunny disposition. She shook off the feeling, attributing it to fatigue, and plastered on a smile. The show, as they say, must go on. The man boarded with a quiet authority. He wasn't particularly tall or imposing, yet his presence commanded attention. He wore a simple dark suit, his face etched with the weariness of a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He chose a seat in business class by the window. His eyes, though, held a certain coldness, a distant look that sent a shiver down Irina's spine. She dismissed it as fatigue playing tricks on her mind. Irina approached him with her usual polite greeting, offering a menu and a warm smile. "Welcome aboard, sir. Can I offer you something to drink before takeoff?" she inquired. He glanced up, his gaze piercing through her for a fleeting moment. "Just water, please," he replied, his voice a low rumble. There was a strange familiarity about him, a flicker of recognition that she couldn't quite place. He reminded her of her grandfather, a stern man with calloused hands and a heart of gold. She busied herself with his drink order, her mind already running through the pre-flight safety demonstration. The man remained an enigma, hidden behind a newspaper and an aura of quiet intensity. Irina, ever the professional, continued her duties, unaware that their paths were about to intertwine in the most unexpected and devastating way. The flight was turbulent. Air pockets jostled the plane, rattling the nerves of even the most seasoned traveller. Irina, a picture of calm amidst the chaos, moved through the cabin, tending to the needs of passengers. The man in business class, however, remained stoic. He sat unmoved, his gaze fixed on the clouds swirling past his window. As Irina passed by his row, a sudden jolt caused her to stumble. Her hand, holding a tray of drinks, collided with the man's shoulder, spilling orange juice over his crisp white shirt. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, her cheeks flushing crimson with embarrassment. The man's eyes snapped up, his gaze like ice. "Do you have any idea?" he began, his voice laced with barely suppressed fury. Irina, mortified, rushed to grab napkins, her heart pounding in her chest. "I am so terribly sorry, sir. I didn't mean... Please let me get you a clean shirt," she stammered, dabbing at the spreading stain. He glared at her, his silence speaking volumes. The other passengers, alerted by the commotion, watched with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. Irina, desperately wishing for the ground to swallow her whole, continued to apologize profusely, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. Section 4. Whispers of Truth. A hush fell over the cabin as the man rose from his seat. His face, now contorted with anger, was unmistakable. Murmurs rippled through the plane. "Isn't that? It can't be. My God, it's him!" The realization hit Irina like a bolt of lightning. The stern features, the piercing blue eyes, the air of quiet power. She had spilled orange juice on Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped her. She had seen him countless times on television, heard his speeches, felt the weight of his presence even through the screen. But here, in the confined space of the aircraft, he was no longer a distant figurehead. He was a man of flesh and blood, and she had just made a grave error in judgment. The other passengers watched in stunned silence, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. The air crackled with tension. Irina's mind raced, trying to process the magnitude of the situation. She had heard stories, whispers of Putin's legendary temper, his ruthlessness towards those who crossed him. Her own actions now seemed not just careless, but reckless, bordering on treasonous. The weight of her mistake pressed down on her, threatening to crush her. She could only stand there, frozen in place as the president of Russia, his white shirt stained orange, fixed her with a look that could curdle steel. Section 5. A familiar route. The days following the incident were a blur. Putin, true to his nature, had said little, his silence more menacing than any outburst. He had accepted her apologies with a curt nod, his eyes betraying nothing but icy displeasure. Irina, however, was suspended, pending an internal investigation. She spent her days replaying the incident in her mind, each loop amplifying her shame and fear. The news was filled with speculation about the incident, some condemning her, others defending her actions as an honest mistake. The world, it seemed, had shrunk to the size of that fateful encounter. She was cleared to fly again a week later. The official statement cited no malicious intent and attributed the incident to unforeseen turbulence. Relief, however, was a distant shore. The memory of Putin's gaze, the feeling of his barely contained fury, lingered like a shadow. She requested the usual Baku-Grozny route, seeking solace in the familiar rhythm of the job that had once been her escape. Little did she know that fate, like a cruel puppeteer, had other plans. The Airbus A320, gleaming under the midday sun, awaited her arrival. She boarded with a heavy heart, the weight of the past week etched on her face. As she went through the pre-flight safety checks, her gaze lingered on the business class section, the scene of her downfall. A shiver ran down her spine. The sky, once a symbol of freedom, now felt like a vast, unforgiving expanse, holding the potential for both beauty and terror. As the plane taxied down the runway, Irina couldn't shake off a feeling of impending doom.